For me, the first thing I do every single morning is look at the trips that we have that day. And the last thing that I do every single day is to look at the trips that we have the next day and make sure they're covered and everybody is taken care of before I worry about getting anybody else, because I have a lot of respect for the commitments that I make to people and the trust that people have in us to use our service. And so they have to be taken care of before anything else. And so I think if there's any advice that I would give anybody out there is take care of your customers. And once your customers are taken care of, go out and sell. And I believe in selling. You got to try to grow the business you want to sell. Mm-hmm. But that can't be the only thing that you're consumed with all the time at the expense of servicing your existing customers, because they already believe in you. They can stay with you. They'll tell other people if you're doing a good job. And that's an easier way of growing the business than always chasing new customers.
Welcome to YMI Talking, a podcast where the guests are so good, you'll wonder why the host is even talking. In each episode, you will hear one of the leaders of the Lehigh Valley's vibrant business hub. They will tell you the keys to their success, the mistakes they've made, and what they have in store for the future. Here is the host of YMI Talking, from YMI Insurance, Jimmy Honachik.
I was very confused. Yes. All right. That is me, Jimmy Honachik, and I am joined by the inimitable Noelle Baxter.
Hi. Can you tell me what that means?
I Googled it beforehand.
Okay.
To make sure that I was using it correctly.
Okay.
And I am. It is someone who is so good and so unique that they can't be copied.
Wow. Thank you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
How do you say it?
Inimitable.
Inimitable.
You know I panic when people make me pronounce things.
I'm sorry. Well, now I want to use that. I like it.
Thank you. Yes. And this episode was inimitable. Now I think I'm using it wrong.
I don't know. Maybe not.
Collins is awesome.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. I really liked him. He's super warm.
Yeah.
And nice.
Yeah.
I feel like I knew him forever.
I've known him for a little bit.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his cars are really nice.
I know. He pulled in with the Lincoln SUV, and that's like one of my dream cars. So I was very impressed.
You literally like, oh,
I know.
Car. Are you a car person?
I'm not.
Okay.
I guess I wouldn't call myself that, but I can appreciate a nice car.
Yeah.
And I want nice cars in the future. So.
Yeah. He drove, I mentioned this in the podcast, but he drove us for the Christmas party from Stroudsburg down to our party. And everyone loved the car and had a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luxury is nice.
It is nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should get some luxury up in this office.
I think so too.
Yeah. Let's work on that.
What do we do?
I don't know. Yes.
That would be cool.
That would be.
Yeah.
All right. If you could get on that.
Okay. Yeah. I'll just Amazon.
But I guess we should dive in.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, this episode's great. Collins from Bella Luxury Limos is awesome, and so is Bella Luxury Limos.
Yeah, they seem like it.
Awesome. Here we go.
Let's do it.
All right, we are here with another episode, and this is one I'm really excited about. I love doing this podcast because, I get to meet new people that I've never met, and that part is great. But what I really like doing is getting friends on here who I know, and, I get to learn about them on a different level. And that is definitely the case today. Collins Ogada from Bella Luxury Limousine. I was going to say you are everywhere, but that's because you are everywhere. You are the man, and I've gotten to know you and your family very well, and this is a real treat for me. So thank you for coming on here.
Well, thanks for having me. It should be a great time.
It should be. I mean, don't speak too soon. Let's start with the business, Bella Luxury Limousine. I mean, it's such a cool concept that you run a limousine company. How did you get here?
Well, so that's it's a little bit of a long story, but we'll try to break it down.
We only have 30 minutes.
All right. Okay. So I was in the insurance business, doing what you were doing.
I liked you.
Yeah. Great business. I loved it. Did both personal lines, commercial lines. Doing well. Was moving on up. And I really never thought I'd be doing anything else but insurance. And then one of my customers at the time had a I was doing a lot of insurance in the transportation industry, and I was part of what I was doing was a medical transport company, and I happened to know the guy, and he was a friend of mine. And prior to getting into the medical transport business, he was in the limo business in North Jersey, in kind of Secaucus area. And after 9/11, that business really went down. So he gets rid of the limo business, moves to Lehigh Valley, starts an emergency medical service. Now he's one of my insurance customers at the time.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that at the time, the insurance market was kind of different than what it is now. It was a soft market. Everything was renewing much lower than you wrote it.
What is that like? I've only known a hard market.
Well, it's tough to say that it's coming. I mean, at some point, there's cycles where it does come.
Yeah.
When it will come, who knows?
Yeah.
But it's different because you're basically just fighting to keep what you have at lower premiums. And that's great for consumers. But as the agent, it takes up your time from prospecting because there's new people coming in and they're trying to take what you have. And then for you to just keep what you have, you're having to go back and work on it, but then renewing it at lower premiums. So that was tough. So at the time, so I'm thinking, all right, so what else can I do? So I start talking to this guy and I'm like, hey, you have some experience doing limos. You want to do something together? Because to me, I love to drive. Yeah. And it seemed like pretty easy business to get going. So he's like, okay, sure. So we get a authority, we get a vehicle, and we get this thing started with one vehicle. All right. This is going back to 2010. And, soon after we realized, at least I realized, in business, you're either all in or you're not. Yeah. And this guy, he had a successful business going. So he wasn't too keen on working on this new thing that we were just getting up with not much going on. Yeah. So very shortly thereafter, basically just ended up buying him out. And then I was on my own. And at the time, I'm still doing my insurance job. Yeah. And, the limo business 24/7, you got stuff going on all the time. So I had to make a quick decision. All right. If I'm going to do this, I got to get all in and do it. And so that's when I left my nice insurance job with benefits and everything. Good thing I didn't have a family or kids at the time. Went all in and just started marketing it and started, knocking doors and using some of the sales skills that I had from insurance. And, pretty quickly got, a decent amount of clientele going. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, first off, was it terrifying? I'm scared hearing you leave the safe, wonderful, warm world of insurance and just going all in on something else.
Well, I guess at the time I was in my late 20s at the time. Mm-hmm. So I didn't, like I said, I didn't have any families. I didn't have, a ton of responsibilities beyond just being able to pay my bills. And when I started, I really wasn't thinking. It was just more like, okay, we're going to have a little, drive people, make some money, hopefully replace my insurance income, and I'll be good to go. Yeah. I wasn't really thinking beyond that, hey, this is going to be something, it was more like just, hey, how can I replace my insurance income? How can I do a little something for myself? That's all it was. I really wasn't thinking that much, but then when I got into it and I saw, okay, I can make something out of it. Yeah. That's when we really went all in and started growing.
And so you started with one vehicle, you said.
One vehicle, yes.
Where are we now?
Well, right now we are at 16 vehicles. Wow. Yeah. And actually that's down from about 20 because of the new acquisition that I made. So we're rounding off a lot of trips. But so we're growing quite a bit.
That's incredible. Yeah. Let's talk about that acquisition. I mean, that is pretty fresh still, right?
Correct. Less than 6 months in now. We should be 6 months here at the end of this month.
What are you looking for in an acquisition? Obviously they could have vehicles. That's a nice start. But what are we looking for?
Yeah, the vehicles are actually probably the least of what I look for because I can get vehicles tomorrow if I have the customers, right? Yeah. So the main thing is you're looking for some synergies and some things that you can, kind of combine. Mm-hmm. You're looking for a customer base you're looking for maybe an area that now you can go into and expand your radius of the people that you're servicing.
Yeah.
And you're generally looking for a reputable company that has a good reputation, so that you can fold it into your operation and get going pretty quickly and smoothly with the transition.
Yeah. How is scaling the business? Because when you are driving, right, you control that entire customer experience.
Correct.
But now you have to start letting other drivers in.
Correct.
How has that process been for you?
So that's probably the toughest part of the business, because the drivers, they represent you. They're out there on their own, so supervising them becomes a challenge in real time, because they're out there, and you put them. So you have to have processes in place where you're not only training them and making sure that you're setting them up for success, but at the same time, you have to reach out to the customers and get feedback on the drivers. Now, the good thing now is with technology as well, we have tracking, so we can track how the drivers are driving. We have cameras in the vehicles now, and insurance companies love that from a liability standpoint, because
you're saying great things right now.
Yeah. Because believe it or not, insurance is going way up, and in our industry especially it is, because there's just anytime you get in an accident with somebody, all they see is dollars if it's a business, if it's a commercial policy. Yeah. And so, there are instances where, other companies have gotten into accidents, especially in bigger cities where you have, litigation, is pretty prominent. And the cameras is all that saved them, because they saw, hey, this guy pulled right in front of you.
Right.
Yeah. And it was totally their fault.
Yeah.
So that's huge.
Not to derail. We just had a claim where they repair truck bodies, big trucks, and someone comes on their lot, backs into a truck that they're working on.
Yes.
Which is okay. It's a minor claim.
Right.
That truck backs into an Air Products truck, which is, like engineered to be precise.
Yes.
We're talking $1 million. They had a camera. They watched the whole thing happen, and it's the other driver's fault. So those cameras really do pay off.
Yeah, they really do, and it's becoming almost not a choice to have them. It's like a requirement if you're going to be insured with some of the carriers that insure us.
What makes a good driver? Because I like to drive. Yeah. I like to put my music on.
Right.
Am I going to be a good driver? Well, who's good? Who works at Bella Luxury?
So here's the thing, and I always tell people when I hire them, there's one thing that I've never had from a customer. A customer has never called me and complained that a driver was too quiet. Okay.
I'm well known for being quiet.
So when in doubt, you just be quiet and drive.
Yeah.
Okay. So because people think, hey, I'm going to be, I'm a people person. I will, I'll talk, I'll entertain people. Yep. But that's not necessarily the case. The customers that will talk to you from the time they get in the car until they exit that vehicle. The customers that won't say a word to you. Yeah. Some of them will sleep. Some of them will, turn on their laptop and do work. The key is to go with the flow. So their cues, if they want to talk, you engage. Yeah. If they want to be quiet, you're quiet.
Do you have those barriers that go up?
Those are in stretch limos.
Okay.
But, believe it or not, a lot of what we do is just airport work with, SUVs, and that's the bulk of our work. Yeah. So most vehicles don't have any barriers. So that, you're just sitting there, the customer is in the back seat, you're driving, and that's all to it.
So you would definitely get complaints if I was a driver. Is what but something you hit on there that, it took me a while to wrap my head around. I've worried or wondered about disruption in your industry, right? Yes. There is Uber, there's Lyft.
Yes.
But you've found a way to sort of, I think, insulate yourself from that. Is that true?
Correct. So Uber, to be honest with you, is the Uber customer is not necessarily my customer. In some instances, they can be.
Right.
For the corporate business people, business types that, they get into the airport and maybe they're going a short distance and it's just quick to pull an app and get
Yeah.
an Uber. Fine. But that's not the bulk of what the trips that we do. Most of our trips there's a little bit of a drive. We'll probably go to Newark Airport more than any other airport. And then we're doing a ton of Philadelphia Airport now, especially because of the New York acquisition and the way it is.
Yeah.
But so that's most of our customers. Now, what our customers are looking for is they're looking for a professional driver that is routing and knows exactly where they're going before they get in the car, and not just, hey, you pulling up, the driver pulls up, and then they're like, they're trying to figure out that your trip just as you get in the car.
Their music's blasting, they're correcting the ways.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have everything set up in place because most of our stuff is prearranged. So we know the routing, we know where you're going, we have the systems in place, we're sending you reminders, we're doing all those things that you're not going to get with Uber, and we're giving you a pretty nice, luxurious vehicle. Now, you do pay a premium for it, but that's what we're offering. That's the value proposition.
And I'm gonna plug you guys right now because we used you for our Christmas party, and that's what it was, right? The driver was in touch the whole time, ahead of time, letting us know. And then the staff loved the car. They said it was such a nice vehicle. You got them there on time, and everyone was really happy. So
fantastic.
You guys do a good job.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I wanted to, all right, so that's the business. I've got a sense for the business. Let's talk about Collins.
Yes.
Who is Collins? I'm picking up on your accent that you might not be from the Lehigh Valley originally.
No, I'm originally from Kenya.
So how do you go from Kenya to here?
Well, so first of all, it's been a while. I should have shaken off this accent, but I can't. But anyways, I've lived here since going back to 2000. I went to Kutztown, and that's what
Kutztown people
represent. I knew you were cool.
So that's how I ended up here. But actually, originally, my sister was the first one to move here, and she was living in the Philly area, and so when I graduated high school in Kenya, I applied to Temple, and that was a plan to come here and go to Temple.
Yeah.
And then shortly before I was to go there, she ended up moving to Allentown. And so, I didn't know anybody here.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, I want to be close to my sister. I'm sure there's other universities close by.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up applying to Kutztown. And so I applied to Kutztown. Fast forward, I get a full ride to go there.
Wow.
And so that was like, okay, I can pay at Temple. I can go to Kutztown free. Well, if it's free, it's for me. What I ended up there.
What was the full ride for? Like, was it academic?
Academic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're smart too.
I used to be smart.
What was your major at Kutztown?
Actually, I started out as a business major.
Okay.
Ended up switching to political science. I was thinking of going to law school.
Okay.
But then got out of actually while I was in school, I started working at Hartford Insurance.
Okay.
That's where I originally got licensed. And so I started working there, got out of there, got another job, and I just never went back to school. And the farther out I got out from school, the less I wanted to go back to school.
100%.
So I just, that went, up in there.
So then where do you meet Sherry? When does the family start?
Oh, Sherry. All right. I knew we were going to get to that. Yeah, that's the best part. Yeah. But,
wow. You're so good with that line.
That's so sweet.
I met Sherry through a mutual friend.
Okay.
And this was, probably 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
We met, kind of hit it off, and started dating. And pretty quick after that, we probably got married, I want to say, less than 2 years after we met.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because we both started. We both wanted to start a family, and I was kind of getting up there in age, and it's like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah,
right, yeah.
Hey, what a family you have! I mean, you have two beautiful daughters.
Thank you.
How do you balance it all? Especially, the limo business, as you mentioned, is 24/7.
Right.
How do you find the way?
To be honest with you, it's tough. That's one of the things that I really struggle with is, trying to find time to spend with them while at the same time, building the business.
Yeah.
And it's been one of my motivations to be honest with you, to do the acquisition, because I knew with the scale, I'll be able to get better management stuff. So then I can better delegate and kind of get away from a lot of the day-to-day stuff and be able to spend more time with my family. So
I just want to say I subscribe to that 100%.
Right.
Because people will look at me and they'll be like, "You're crazy. You want to take on more work?" I'm like, yes, there is an initial lift and it's going to be a lot more work. Yes. But then you achieve that scale and you can take that step back.
Yes.
So thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So that's that's the plan, because and I think a lot of people that are not in business don't understand. I mean, one of your biggest expenses is labor. And when you're in a small business, you don't have the layers of management that can handle this, so you wear a lot of hats and you have to do a lot of things yourself. And it's hard to get the kind of talent that can take some of that stuff off your plate. It takes, it takes money and more business to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite car?
Do I have a favorite car?
Yeah.
Like just
either in your fleet or just in general.
Fleet. So,
and are you a car guy? Like, do you have to be
believe it or not, I'm not a car guy.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't sure if that was a requirement or not.
No. It's to me, it's a tool.
Yeah.
That I use.
Yep.
And the vehicles I buy are primarily because they're kind of proven in the industry in terms of how they hold up over time.
Yeah.
So that's why I buy those vehicles. And I will say, I mean, I've had different types of vehicles, and I used to have, I had an Escalade that I really loved.
Yeah.
But then I switched up from that brand to the Lincoln brand, and then went to the Lincoln Navigator.
Noelle noticed that Lincoln as soon as you pulled up.
Gosh, that's a nice Lincoln.
Yeah. And that car, it rides even better than it looks.
Wow.
That thing is as smooth as you can, so it's a phenomenal vehicle. So that's in my fleet. That's definitely my favorite vehicle. Yeah.
Something I'm realizing as we're talking, I mean, you can't keep them forever. Like I buy a car and I want to keep it and get my money's worth out of it and just run it into the ground.
Right.
But no one wants their car that they're getting picked up in to be run into the ground.
Right. So the thing with our vehicles is we put a lot of miles on them.
Yeah.
So I can have a relatively new vehicle, but with a lot of miles, mostly highway miles. So this vehicles can run smooth as long as you're keeping up with the maintenance. The vehicles can run smooth for a long time, because some of these vehicles we're running 50, 60,000 miles a year.
Yeah.
So I can have a 2-year-old vehicle with more than 100,000 miles on it, but you'd never be able to tell just looking at it.
Yeah.
But they're running because obviously we don't make any money if the vehicle is in the parking lot.
Right.
So we try to run them as much as we can. So the idea is to have, the least number of vehicles doing the maximum number of trips. And, and that's how you.
Yeah. What's do you have any cool guest stories? I know of one that I'm thinking of, but have you ever had didn't you do like a presidential motorcade? Weren't you involved with that?
Yes. We had, that was a really cool one that we did just this past election season. And, before people go crazy out there, because we know, like, when you touch politics and everybody loses their mind. We did this one because that's the one we were approached to do.
Right.
So it wasn't like I don't ask people for their politics.
Yeah.
You're willing to pay, we're willing to do it.
When I'm a limo driver, that's gonna be the first question I ask people when they come in.
Yeah. So we do both sides, but we just happened to have a connection that we were able to do actually 3 different motorcades for not only we did Tim Walz, we had Joe Biden out in Wilkes-Barre. Wow. That was a big motorcade. And then we also did one just the day before the election with Kamala Harris from Allentown all the way to Reading, where she eventually flew from Reading to Pittsburgh and then back to Philly. But we were on that huge motorcade we did.
That must be insane. Like, again, taking politics out, whichever side you're on, like that's a presidential candidate and a previous president.
Yeah, correct.
What is security like to get that? It's got to be insane.
Yeah, I mean, we had to submit the driver information beforehand.
Did you get to drive any of them?
Well, I did one just because I wanted the experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was really cool. I just wanted to say I did it.
Yeah.
So I did one of them, but it was, we had to submit all kinds of background checks for the drivers beforehand. You have to stage there and get there 2 hours before the candidates even get there. You do Secret Service doing a full sweep. All the vehicles, meaning, trunk is open, everything is open, dogs are sniffing at stuff.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is once you start moving, you're not stopping for anything.
Right.
There's no stop signs, no lights. So you were moving.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it was cool.
Do you get nervous when the dogs are sniffing, even though you've done nothing wrong? Like, I feel like I'd be paranoid.
Yeah. But you know what? The dogs didn't actually get anywhere near you. The dogs did the vehicles, and then a Secret Service agent did.
Right. Yeah.
Did the people.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
it was a cool experience.
Is it the right choice? Are you glad you left insurance and went into the livery business?
Well, that depends on the day, right?
Yeah.
So there are crazy days when you'd like the structure of kind of, hours and, hey, after a certain time you're closed, even though I know probably customers reach out to you after hours. That's just the kind of environment we live in now. But, no, overall not, because I was good at insurance, but even with that, I doubt I would have had the level of success I've had in the limo industry, if I'm just being honest with you. So in that sense, if I'm looking at it from just purely, the level of success, I would say no. But I think the one thing that nobody told me is that it was 24/7. And this thing just doesn't, shut down. And it's, there's always people moving, whether it's a holiday, whether it's, and you got to figure all that out. So that's the tough part of it. That is, it's hard to kind of wrap around your head. I didn't know that going. At least I didn't contemplate or think about it.
And it's so one-on-one. Like, if one of your drivers is out at 1 a.m. or whatever, and there's an issue, you're going to get pulled into that. It's
correct.
It's a very personal experience.
Correct. Yes. And so when things go wrong, regardless of what time it is, you got to be ready to respond. And that, and that can be tough because you just never know when, you got a vehicle out there, anything can happen anytime. And so it can be challenging being ready to respond to that kind of stuff.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. So season 3, we are sponsored by Z-Craft. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen them, but they're at the promenade. They're now in the airport. Okay. It's a cafe. They make probably the best looking and tasting food in the Lehigh Valley. Okay. It is fantastic. Awesome. And it's a cafe. You go there, you sip your coffee, and sometimes sip happens. Sometimes something embarrassing comes up and happens. And so we're doing the Z-Craft segment called Sip Happens. So Collins, when was the time that sip happened to you?
Oh, wow. All right. So a good one that I can think of is several years ago I had an apartment out in Briningsville. Yeah. And I don't like fake plants. So I always like having like a real.
Did you come in here just to messing with our interior design in here? Okay. Well, this interview's been great.
No, I didn't. No, that looks great. Whether it's fake or real, it looks great. But anyways, so I was buy real plants, water them and stuff. And I was living on the second floor. I had my balcony area. And so I would take my plant out, water it, and, I would try to get some sun. Yeah. And one day I have the plant out there and I'm not like paying attention. So I go out, take it out, I'm watering it. And then I pull the door closed and I didn't, go through my thing.
Yeah.
Here, what I had closed was the not the actual door, but I had the screen. Just the screen was closed.
Yeah.
So I'm going through and I go back out to get my plant, not paying attention to and I walk right through it and knock the door out. And,
that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, just walked right through it.
If it makes you feel any better, I have done that with the door before, where it's a glass door. I'm like, boom.
Right.
So I've been there.
Yeah. So it just, I guess sip happens. Right?
Sip happens. That's awesome. One thing I think I need to bring up before we get off of here is you're a big golfer, right?
Yes.
What drew you to the game and why do you love it so much?
Oh, wow. All right. So that's the only reason I golf is because of COVID. That's actually one of the best things for me to have come out of COVID.
Yeah.
Because pre-COVID, Sherry always golfed.
Yeah.
And I just thought it took too much time. And it does take a lot of time. And I just never had the time. So Sherry would golf, but I didn't golf. I didn't pay attention. I didn't, Then COVID comes and my business is down to zero. There's nothing to do. And that's about the only thing you could do outside.
Right.
So I picked up golf.
Yeah.
Started playing golf. And I got hooked. And, after COVID, that is one of the things that I absolutely try to make up time for.
Yeah.
Sherry and I play in a league every Wednesdays. And then we'll go out like on a Sunday afternoon and play.
Yeah.
So absolutely love it. She's a lot better than I. I will say that. She's a lot better than I. She, we just played Wedgewood the other day and she was crushing it.
Sherry's the kind of person I think if she puts her mind to something, she's going to be good at it. Yeah.
And she's not naturally athletic. She played tennis in college and stuff. So she's, she just has, and the weird thing is she rarely ever practices golf.
Yeah.
She'll go out there and just rip it and everything just down the middle of the fairway.
Wow.
She's that good. She's a really good golfer.
Now, do the girls watch you guys and want to do it, or do they watch you and say, absolutely not?
Well, the girls, we've gone out golfing with the girls once on a vacation in Virginia. Okay. We took them out with us.
Yeah.
The first one's out on like a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
But that's the first, and I think they've come to the range a few times.
Okay.
It would be nice if they can golf because then we have a ready foursome.
Yeah.
But they're kind of a little too young to kind of figure out if they're in or out.
Yeah.
But it's fun. Well, we enjoy it.
That's my joke is, Trish hates golf because I'm gone for 4 hours or whatever. Right. I have 3 kids.
Right.
I could take them off her hands. Right. I got a foursome right there.
Yeah.
And then May went, I don't want to play golf. I was like, May, you have to. This is part of the plan.
That's a college scholarship right there.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm still working.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Keep working on that. Yeah.
Anything we didn't hit that you want to hit? Anything about the business? Anything about you? Anything we should have talked about?
I think we got a lot of it.
Yeah.
We got a lot of the good stuff. I appreciate you having me out.
Oh, absolutely.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And, I think one of the things that I wanted to mention is I think a lot of times, and I want to say this because I get a lot of solicitations from people for, switch this or buy this product.
Right.
And I'm sure you do. And
if you're looking for insurance,
and I tone a lot of it down.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I've noticed is people that do a lot of prospecting and do a lot of like cold calling, sometimes they're very horrible at providing the service, which is to say, I'll blow people off sometimes. Mm-hmm. And then every now and then I say, oh, you know what? I'm ready to do this.
Yeah.
So then I'll reach out to the person that has been, blowing up my phone trying to sell me this or that. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, most of the times, they're not ready for that call. Mm-hmm. They're ready to make the outbound call. Yeah. But when I actually call them for service, they're not ready for me.
Yeah.
And so I say that to say, for me, the first thing I do every single morning is look at the trips that we have that day. And the last thing that I do every single day is to look at the trips that we have the next day and make sure they're covered and everybody is taken care of before I worry about getting anybody else because I have a lot of respect for the commitments that I make to people and the trust that people have in us to use our service. And so they have to be taken care of before anything else. And so I think if there's any advice that I would give anybody out there is take care of your customers. And once your customers are taken care of, go out and sell. And I believe in selling. You got to try to grow the business you want to sell. But that can't be the only thing that you're consumed with all the time at the expense of servicing your existing customers, because they already believe in you. They can stay with you. They'll tell other people if you're doing a good job. And that's an easier way of growing the business than always chasing new customers.
Yeah.
And I don't think people always appreciate that.
That's beautiful. Like, actually, that's a beautiful thought to leave it on.
Right.
And you're right, because I'm here telling our audience to go to Bella Luxury Limousine. We've used them. We've been customers, and the customer service is top notch. And so this is a sales, because, you know, you did the service right, and you get the sales afterwards.
Appreciate it.
No, thank you. Collins, thank you again for coming on. This was great.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the YMI Talking podcast. If you enjoyed this and want to hear more content from amazing personalities in the Valley, please subscribe, leave a rating, and drop us a quick review.